tradition. And the other I remember is we invited Sister Andre from St. Ben's and St. Cloud to read her bus stories. And she had started to write the bus stories because she did not drive. She had taken a vow of poverty. So and then she couldn't drive because that was expensive. And so she rode the bus, and as she rode the bus, she would write journal. And she wrote these stories. And the story one of the stories she chose to read to us was about a boy who got on in Bemidji with his mother and asked him questions. And one of the questions he asked, so the whole bus heard, was, "Are you a virgin?" Do you remember that? And so she had tried to get around it by saying, "Well, do you mean virgin like the virgin woods?" "No, that's not what I mean. I mean, do you sleep around?" She said, "Oh, well, I sleep around because last night I was in Bemidji, and tonight I'm going to be in St. Cloud." "Well, I don't mean that." "Well, what do you mean?" So he blurted out what he meant. But I just remember Sister Andre reading that bus story. It was very funny. I enjoyed teaching. During the time that I was president, I was on the tail end of the lawsuit at Winona State. I had filed a lawsuit on behalf of women faculty at Winona State because they were not being promoted as men were. In fact, they weren't hired at the same salaries that men were, despite the fact that we had a union. So originally I had filed a lawsuit against the union, but the judge in St. Paul would not let me keep going with that because he said, "You're a member of the union, you can't sue yourself." So then I just sued the state of Minnesota and Winona State University. We won, it settled in 2003. And so all 155 women got back pay for as long as they had been there to make the adjustment. And then they all got forward pay. The forward pay ranged from $10,000 to $16,000 more a year. And so, and the nurses, and the teachers were the lowest paid on campus. It was an amazing experience. Why did I do it by myself? Because I interviewed all the women, and when I asked them whether they would join me in the lawsuit, they said no, because there would be retribution. And there was, huge, big time. It was horrible. They tried everything they could to fire me. And some of the stories are really not too much fun. But I enjoyed teaching, loved it. I taught for a total of 46 years because I taught 10 years in Chehalis, Washington, that's south of Olympia High School. And then I taught 6 years at Wenatchee High School, where the apples grow, in Washington State. And then I moved to North Dakota to work on my doctorate. And then Dr. Peterson died an untimely death at the age of 49 at the start of the second semester that I was there. And on my way to pay my tuition in the morning, I heard someone yelling my name. "Hey, Karjala, where are you going?" And it was Dr. Navra, the chair of the department. And he said, "No, you're not. Come back here." So he grabbed me by the hand. He says, "We're going to go have a cup of coffee. I have bad news, but I have good news." So he sat down to tell me that Dr. Peterson had died in his sleep the night before at the age of 49, and that they had had a department meeting at 6 o'clock that morning and had decided that of the 23 graduate students, I was the most qualified to take his place until they found a new faculty person. So I put my doctoral studies on hold for a year and a half while they searched for another professor. It was good experience. I have some of Dr. Peterson's books up here that he shared with me, shorthand books, because he was really into writing shorthand plates and writing books. But the 46 years of teaching was fun, and probably if I counted from when I started teaching at the age of 6, it would be a lot more. Yeah.
Okay, so what was the dance of your era?
I will tell you what, I grew up in a church. I don't even know if I should say this out loud. I hope I'll say it. You don't have to tell me that you belong to this denomination. It's a denomination called Laestadian Apostolic Lutheran Church. It's really big up north. It comes from Finland. Laestadia was a man who went out into the bushes and went out for a walk in the trees and found the equivalent of a burning bush and wrote up a whole new way of living. My way of thinking, it's a cult. So that's the church that that's the church that I was brought up in. You don't wear makeup, you don't go to movies, you don't watch television, you don't dance. You don't curl your hair, you let it grow, you don't cut your hair off. So that's a church I grew up in, which obviously I flipped out of it and became something else. But I never learned to dance as a result. So I